freeing from the negligence of today's society. It's not a negative. A lot of the time we use negative justification to attempt to convince ourselves to connect to more negativity. So this is done by when we resemble negativity within the aspect of frequency or energy, we are often reflecting within that state of awareness or state of concept or even thought. So if we're perceiving negative energy, we're already being infected or affected by it. Now, this is where we can really learn from today's society, because today's society is essentially always impregnating a phony expression of existence some way or another within us. And we can understand this by our thought, because no matter how strong, no matter how powerful, no matter how resilient we become, we will always be vulnerable to an aspect of ourselves, whether that is our greatest weakness, disguising as, like the Battle of Troy. This is a beautiful example of when they finally thought that they've overcome the war and they welcome this victory trophy into their palace, and then the trophy was actually their greatest weakness, and then they lost because of this. And there's no difference to this analogy in our present moment, as that our thoughts will always use their ability to, because thoughts, one thing to understand is thoughts are not part of us. They essentially are our programming. They're essentially our programming. And when we start to comprehend thought, we start to comprehend the program. And that's why when we start to change the program, we start to change our thoughts. When we start to change our program, we start to change our thoughts. Well, why? Because thoughts are the program. So essentially, even no matter how strong our program gets, we didn't create the program. We were created by or for within the program. So no matter how good we get at programming, we still have the potential to run the virus. So that's why if we become resilient today to today's society, we will start to understand and start to reason that every single moment we can be vulnerable to people's energy and people's lives. So in order to truly develop a sense of resilience is to understand that we can always be affected. Now, this isn't a negative thing, but it's very important to open our eyes to the fact that when we start to walk forward in life, when we start to move forward, we must be ready to fight, not literally, but energetically at every moment. Because if we're not, when we least expect it, we will be bombarded by frequency, which will attempt to take from our happiness, which we're growing. Because when we start to change our program, change our thought, we start to align ourselves with our true nature, which is our happiness from our hearts. Every time the heart beats, it pulsifies to a certain code. This code, if connected, connects to true happiness, unconditional love, wisdom. It connects to a higher frequency. The reality of the mind is only perceiving a certain wavelength of energy, which is distorted by this false identity, which we call the phony self, or the image of all that cannot be. There's no such thing as all that cannot be within the heart's truth, as we are all infinitely infinite possibility and imagination. It's only the mind which deceives this truth.